There's a particular kind of alone that only happens on the road at night. No buildings, no people, just headlights and darkness, and whatever's out there beyond the beams. Tonight's stories all start the same way. Someone driving, someone walking, someone moving through the dark, and something that shouldn't have been there. 4 stories, lights off, let's go. The first story comes from a man I'll call Marcus. He's 43, from Edinburgh. He drives long distance for work, has done for 15 years. He's told me he's covered every motorway in the UK at every hour of every night. He told me he still can't explain what happened on the M74 in November. This is his words. The figure at junction 12. 15 years of long distance driving. You develop a relationship with the road at night. You know how to read it, the tiredness, the light changes, the points where your concentration dips. You know the difference between something real and something your brain has invented to break the monotony. I know what I saw was real because it knew my name. This was the 4th of November. I was southbound on the M74 about 2 in the morning. Clear night, light traffic. I've done this run dozens of times. There's a section near junction 12 where the road dips into a shallow valley. The motorway lights go sparse there. Maybe half a mile of relative dark road before the next cluster. I know that stretch very well. I came down that dip and my headlights picked up something on the hard shoulder. It was a person, standing still, facing the carriageway, not walking, not flagging me down, just standing there. Protocol for a person on the motorway, a hard shoulder in 2 in the morning, not the junction. Call it in to the police when safe to do so. Don't stop. It's not safe to stop. I drove on, got out my phone at the next lit section. I called 101, gave the junction, gave the location, reported a pedestrian on the hard shoulder. The operator took the details and thanked me. 20 minutes later, my phone rang. The operator called him back. She asked me to confirm the exact location again, and I did. She told me they had sent a unit immediately, and the officer had done a slow pass of that entire section. There was nothing there, no person, no vehicle, nothing. I told her I'd seen someone clearly, that my headlights had been full on them. They were standing still. I had turned to watch the car. She said, I believe you. The officer believes you too. There's just nothing there now. I thanked her and drove on. Told myself they had moved. Found help, wandered off into the dark somehow. I reached my delivery point at 4:15. Did my handover, had a coffee, got back in the cab to head north. At junction 12 again, northbound this time, I saw them again. Same figure, hard shoulder, standing still, facing the carriageway, same place. I know that's not possible. I was going the other direction. The hard shoulder is on the other side of the barrier. The figure would have to had crossed a live motorway. I didn't slow down. I didn't look in the mirror this time. But as I passed, and this is the part I don't know how to explain, as I passed, I heard something. Not from outside the cab, but from inside, right beside my ear. My name. Not loudly, not shouted. My name in a voice that wasn't there. I drove north at the speed limit for 4.5 hours without stopping. I have not driven that section at night since November. There are other routes. Story 2 comes from a woman I will call Rachel. She's 36, from Newcastle. She was driving home from a family visit in October. A 3-hour journey she had done many times before. She told me she changed the route she takes now. Adds 40 minutes to the journey. She says it's worth it. And in her words, the passenger side. I want to say first, I'm not someone who gets spooked. I've seen things that would generally upset most people. I'm practically wired to stay calm. What happened on that drive home undid something in me. I've been trying to redo it ever since. It was the 14th of October. I'd been at my parents' in Carlisle for the weekend. Left about 10:30 at night. Later than I'd planned, but I wanted to avoid the Sunday traffic. I was on the A69, the single carriageway through some fairly open countryside. Not remote exactly, but rural. Long stretches between villages. About an hour in, around 11:30, it started raining heavily. Proper autumn rain, the kind that makes the road look black and reflects everything. I slowed down, put my full attention on the road. There was a woman on the verge, standing in the rain. No coat, not at a bus stop, not near a house, just on the grass verge of a road in the dark, in the pouring rain. I slowed significantly. She wasn't facing the road, she was facing away from it, into the dark field beyond the verge. I stopped and put my hazards on. No, you're not supposed to stop on an A road at night alone. I know. She was standing in the rain with no coat. I'm a nurse. I just couldn't keep going. I lowered the passenger window and called out, "Are you alright? Do you need help?" And she turned around. She looked at me. I couldn't see her face clearly. It was maybe 5 or 6 meters away, backlit by hazards. She looked at me and didn't say anything. Then she started walking towards the car. Everything in me said to drive away. Not fear exactly, something more instinctive than fear. Something that said, this is wrong. I drove away. I'm a nurse, and I drove away from a woman standing alone in the rain on a dark road at night. I've thought about this every day since, but I drove away. I told myself I'd call 999 at the next safe point. I drove another 2 miles and I pulled into a lay-by and called it in. Gave the location, described what I'd seen. The operator was professional, calm, and logged it. Said they'd send someone out. 20 minutes later, I was back on the road and I was nearly home. My phone rang. It was the operator. The unit's done the full stretch. There's nothing there. No one. I said she was there. I stopped. I spoke to her. The operator said, I don't doubt you. There's just nobody there now. I got home. I've driven that road in daylight since. I've looked at the verge from both directions. There's no house nearby, no bus stop, no reason for anyone to be there. But the thing that's always stayed with me, the thing I keep coming back to, is the feeling I had when when she turned around and started walking towards the car. Not this person needs help. Not even this person is in danger. Just one word completely clear. My body's one word before my brain got involved. Wrong. I trust that word now. I take other routes. 2 down, 2 to go. If something has happened to you on your road at night, something you still can't explain, an email is in the description. Send it in. Subscribe for more stories every Monday and Thursday. Let's get back to it. Story 3 comes from a man I call Callum. He's 28, from Glasgow. He was 18 when this happened. Driving home alone late at night for the first time, passing his test. He told me it nearly put him off driving for good. In his words, the high beams. I need to set the scene properly for this to make sense. I was 18. I'd passed my test 6 weeks before. This was the first time I'd driven a significant distance alone at night. About 45 minutes. Not long, but it felt like a lot at the time. I was nervous in the way new drivers are nervous. Every decision felt deliberate. Every junction felt significant. I was concentrating very hard, which is why I know exactly what I saw. It was a single track road through farmland, the kind of road that cuts across one A road to another, just my headlights and the hedgerows either side. About 2/3 of the way through, maybe half a mile of the road left, a car appeared in my rearview mirror. Coming up fast, high beams on full in my mirror, dazzling. I adjusted the mirror angle, slowed slightly, expecting them to sit behind me or overtake. They got closer, much closer than was safe. I started to feel genuinely panicked. Single track road and nowhere to pull in. A car right on you bumper with full beams blazing. I sped up a little and they matched it. I slowed, they slowed. Then they flashed their lights once, twice and 3 times. I was terrified. I was 18, had no idea what was happening. Just focused on the road and drove as fast as I felt safe to, and counted down the distance to the junction where the road met the A road. I came out onto the A road and turned left, pulled into the first lay-by I could find. A car behind followed me in. An old man got out. He walked to my window quickly. Nearly drove away, but something made me lower the window an inch. He was out of breath, genuinely shaken. "I'm sorry," he said. "Sorry I scared you, and I needed you to know." He said, "When I came up behind you, when I first put my lights on, there was someone standing on the back of your car. On the boot. Standing on the boot of my car, hunched down." He described it exactly like that. Said it was why he had come so close to try and get my attention. Said when I sped up, whatever it was stayed on. That he had watched it the whole length of the road. When I pulled into the lay-by, he said, it was gone. I got out of the car. We both looked. The boot was undamaged. No marks, no scratches, nothing to say anything had been there. The man looked at me. He looked embarrassed and frightened at the same time. "I know how that sounds," he said. "I'm sorry." He got back in his car and drove away. I sat in the lay-by for 20 minutes. Then I drove home the long way around. A road the whole way and never used that single track road again. I've been driving for 10 years since then. I'm a confident driver now, but I don't use my rear view mirror the same way I used to. Some things I would just rather not see coming. The last story tonight comes from a woman I'll call Diane. She's 52 from Sheffield. She was driving home from a late shift when it happened. A road she had used every working day for 11 years. She told me she knew every inch of it. There was 1 inch she didn't know. And in her words, the house that wasn't there. I want to be clear that this is not a story about being tired and confused. I know people think that, and I thought it myself at first. But I've tested what I saw against every possible explanation, and none of them hold. The road is 11 minutes from my house. I've driven it twice a day, 5 days a week, for 11 years. I know every junction, every property, every feature of that road. I know the farm on the left and the pub that closed down. The stone wall that was rebuilt after a car hit it in 2019. I know that road. On a Wednesday night in January, driving home about 11:15, I saw a house on the right-hand side of the road, set back from the verge. The house, lights on, orange warm, the lights of an occupied home. A gravel drive. I could see the shape of the roof, a lit upstairs window. I noticed it the way you notice something new on a familiar route. A new shop, new fence. I thought, when did that go up? I drove home. The next morning, I drove the same road to work in daylight and looked for it. And there was nothing there. A field, a flat, unremarkable field. No house, no drive, no gravel, no structure of any kind. I drove slowly, checking both sides of the road. Went to the exact position where I'd seen it. I knew exactly where it was, relative to a large oak tree I pass every day. I told my husband. He drove the route with me at the weekend in daylight. Confirmed, nothing there. He suggested I'd been tired, seen a light in the distance at a strange angle. I said no, I'd seen a house in detail. Even the gravel and the lit window. I started doing something I've never done before or since. I started logging the drive home, a note on my phone every night. I didn't think I'd seen anything that had caught my attention. For 3 weeks, nothing. The road was the road. Then on the 9th of February, a Tuesday, I saw it again. Same position, same house, same lit upstairs window. Anything clearer than the first time. See a curtain. I could see the edge of a gate post at the end of the drive. So I stopped my car. I pulled onto the verge, stopped and looked directly at it through the passenger window. It was there. It was completely there. So I got out the car. There was nothing. Field, darkness, not even the light. Stood at the open car door and looked across to where the house had been, and there was nothing there. No house, No lights, the field in the dark, and the shape of the oak tree. I got back in the car and I sat for a long time. I've looked up the history of that land. I spent 2 evenings on the council planning portal, an old map archived on a local history site. In 1987, a farmhouse stood in the exact plot. It was demolished when the family sold the land. The family's name was in the local archive. I've driven that road twice a day, every working day since February. The house has never appeared again. But I look for it now. Every single night, I look for the orange light through the passenger window, just past the oak tree. I don't know whether I'm hoping to see it, or hoping I won't. 4 roads, 4 people who saw something that had no business being there. The road at night asks a particular kind of trust. You trust the tarmac, the barriers, the lights. You trust that the darkness on either side is just darkness. These 4 people trusted that, and then they didn't anymore. If something happened to you on the road at night, alone, far from anywhere, the email is in the description. Send it in. New stories every Monday and Thursday. Subscribe so you don't miss them. Take care of yourselves, and if you're driving tonight, don't check your mirror. Good night.